Thank you, Ralph. Our speaker today is Mike DeBurdine. Mike is a 27-year member
Somewhere around that.
of Lancaster Rotary South Club. They meet at the Media Heights Golf Course. He's a graduate of Solanco High School. Go Mules!
That's it.
You know, there's not many other people I can share that with. So. Yeah. He studied business at F&M College, and he works at Rhodes Energy Corp. He lives in Millersville with his wife, Deb, but probably more important than anything, he's the father of 2 Olympians. So he's going to come and talk to us a little bit about that experience. Mike.
Great. Thanks. Okay, I'll just click it to go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Mind if I get a cup of water here first, quick? There's no water. Yeah, cool. Thanks. So, John's from Solanco because he says DeBurdine right. So that when my daughters play field hockey, they'll literally introduce one name in the lineup, then they change the last name to something different as they go down the list. It's the funniest darn thing. But anyway, Mike DeBurdine, both daughters, here to talk about our experience. My daughters, they played in the Paris Olympics this past year. They are Penn Manor grads, both went to Maryland. And normally, and I've done this talk now, I think about 5 times, and Brooke, the older one, who's 25, is normally my actually a sidekick and much more entertaining than me. And it's just because she was in town, I would bring her along, but she's tied up today. So, thanks a ton. I appreciate that. That's great. She's much more entertaining than me. So, but anyway, so we'll go through this. And as we go along, just ask questions, interrupt. It's fine. Open dialogue is always better for me, I like. So I don't feel like, I'm just speaking at you. We're speaking together as a group here. So anyway, so we rented a house. So when we found out in January that the girls, the team qualified, there was still a selection process in place later on, but we ultimately, in January, rented a house that on Airbnb that could accommodate the 12 people. So we took the immediate family, and we took our daughter's 2 boyfriends along, and we took my mom of 93 years along too, and she had 2 helpers with her. I met with her. And my wife and I met with her, Deb, in January and said, hey, we want you to come along to the Olympics if you want to come. She starts bawling. She's very capable, by the way. She plays bridge like 5 times a month. So she drives her, her convertible car around, and she's living a good life. But and so we're blessed. But I said, but you want a condition though, Mom, you gotta have a helper. I'm not going to watch you. So she was fair with that deal. So anyway. What is my time? Just so I know. 1:30. Okay, we're easy for that. So anyway, since it's our house, so right after the Spain game, which was the 3rd game, I believe, we had USA had asked, hey, you have a house. It's within walking distance of the stadium. We're about a 25-minute walk from the stadium. Would you mind hosting something? And so, sure. So we figure, okay, there's 18. There's 19 players, including the alternates, a couple players, and we said, okay. So we sent this email out to the parent group, and we'd like to entertain, the parents and the immediate family for a little, for luncheon or for dinner after the game. You just bring your own wine or beer or whatever it is. So the RSVPs came in. It was 110 people. We thought we were going to have 50, so we had 110. So great house party we had, and this is the front of our house. A beautiful house in Columbus, which is just right outside on the edge of, right on the outside of the edge of Paris. So, and this is the street that we stayed on. Again, beautiful area. And really, just one side note, if you've ever been to Paris, it feels a lot like New York City downtown, with multiple cars. There could be 6 lanes, 3 going one way, 3 going the other way. Well, literally, they told the residents, the Parisians, to leave town. And so there was times you could walk downtown Paris and just walk across the street anywhere you wanted to. There was no traffic at all. It was great for a tourist. Everybody ran away because they thought the Olympics was going to take over the town. I guess it would have, but it was a great tourist experience, and the city was really empty. So this is one of the cool venues that they provide for all the athletes. Each country has its own house. Okay, so we have the USA house. Probably, I would say our house was probably the nicest one of all of them. If anybody's has Irish descent, you can imagine what their house looked like. It was the bars pouring Guinness beer about this big, and you couldn't move. So it was ours was over the top. The USA house. We got free tickets because our daughters were athletes, and so the best part for our family is that every athlete gets an allocation of something. We fortunately had two athletes, so we got a double allocation of something. So it was pretty cool. We really did not miss out on anything due to not having the availability for access or some passes for certain things. But if you wanted to pay to go to this house, you could go there all day long. It's multiple levels, multiple rooms, free food, free drink, but $400 for the day. And you could go sit there, and they would bring up here on this stage, up, is this a point of the red thing? Before I hit it, it might go off, right? Up here, this stage area, they would bring Olympians with their medals after they've competed, and they would, cheer them on and stuff like that. Or if the the race of the 100 meters was coming up, the whole place would shut down, and they'd put it all on the big screens, big events and stuff like that. It was a really energizing place to attend. So we went there for an evening and enjoyed that. Like I said, we had free passes to that. And when the girls go, now that they're Olympians, they get to go to any USA house forever to all Olympics. So they would get free access, and there was an Olympian room where we were able to go in because we had daughters that had Olympic passes. So in this house, which is pretty cool, there was a map up, and I took a picture of it. So you just touch your screen, and then you touch Pennsylvania's map, and then you find your athlete. It's had a little bit of a quick bio and sort of like that was inside it, but that's for every athlete. So we thought that was pretty neat to see that, and of course there's one there for Emma also. So one day we did take a trip to Normandy, and I'm assuming there might be some people that have visited Normandy already, but I will tell you that was a fabulous trip. It was about a 3-hour. We rented a driver. Well, we jumped on a van ride with another couple and a driver, and the tour was over the top. And one thing, it just felt like if you've been to Longwood Gardens, it's Longwood Gardens on steroids as far as I'm concerned, because it's much more. There's no marketing at all allowed. They don't sell anything. It's a true cemetery. It's very surreal, it's. But you could spend a full day there, and then we went to the beach at Omaha Beach Cliffs and Omaha beaches, and that was just so powerful. So anyway, it was a full day trip. Should have stayed longer. Actually, as you're coming into the area of Normandy, there's more probably USA flags than there are French flags. Is at least equal, if not more, USA flags. So that area of France just still loves us today. So good stuff. So again, probably the most emotional thing for me, and every time I see it, I get emotional. But first national anthem, to kick it all off. The daughters are 23 and 25. It's been a journey, and just loved it. And so. Yeah, that was a pretty exciting time for our family and the girls, and so they don't. So technically, they might be, and everybody knew it. All the girls knew it. Technically, they might be selected for the Olympic team, but statistically, or like the way the protocol is, until you walk on the field, you are not an Olympian. So so for them, it was also very emotional to get to that national anthem to kick it all off. So pretty cool stuff. So anyway, before each game, since they've been in college, they both went to college at Maryland, and they were 2 years apart. And they both took advantage of their COVID season. So literally, we've been at Maryland for about 8 seasons, and pretty much 90% of all pre-games, I would send a hype video to the girls. It could be just a talk, it could be a skit, it could be a song or something, and so their deal was, we don't want anybody to text us once we're in the village. Don't call us, don't text us. We will reach out to you if you want, but keep things normal, like the hype video. So we have a hype video here. This was the first one. Actually, this is the one we played Great Britain. So that's my mom at 93. Now she's sitting down just because she's the queen. But let's see if the video. So we send this to the girls in a text before the game.
So that we beat in 1776. We're going to beat them again.
You got that? We beat him in 1776. We played Great Britain, and we didn't beat them. Okay, so that's that. So anyway, so you might know this guy. I don't know if you follow football at all. The Eagles. So massive individual, Jason and Kylie Kelsey. So Kylie Kelsey played field hockey at not Misericordia, but anyway, I'm drawing a blank. Philadelphia School, small liberal arts college. But anyway, and she still coaches today. Jason and so our USA field hockey we're really predominant Pennsylvania team, honestly. So with 18 women on the roster and 16 with 19 women on the roster and 16 players that are dressing every game, half the team is from Pennsylvania. And so this is the hotbed. We're just talking about Bobby Durr, who I believe, in my opinion, who just passed away from Warwick area. In my opinion, he's probably the godfather of field hockey in this area. He sort of got it to the level that it's really, competition, is good, and it lifted the whole, tide lifts all ships. So anyway, so we have players that live in the Philadelphia area and know the Kelseys. And so they've reached out, and Kylie has been an advocate for a women's USA field hockey team right when we needed that advocate. So they've done some videos together and stuff like that. They came to the Olympics. I'm literally sitting right here. Jason's sitting in front of me. My son made sure he positioned himself beside him, But really, really great people. And he was sitting alone texting outside the field hockey complex at one time. And my wife said, "This is our opportunity. Let's get our picture." I said, "I'm not bothering this guy." He said, "No, we're going to do it." So we went over. Other people came over. They got a picture. But he's just a huge, huge human being. He's just a great person. Just a really great, great person. He's probably in most like a dozen commercials these days anymore. But anyway, that's Emma. That's the younger one. She's 23 on the right. So I'll talk a little bit about the team and their stats. Okay, so 28 women are on the roster that we're training together, and we train in Charlotte now. We used to train at the Nook. The team used to train at the Nook. It was before our girls were actually on the USA national team. They were in the pipeline since they were probably 14 or so, or something like that. But and then the Nook, they moved to Charlotte about, let's say, 4 years ago now, and so so they've been down there now, and so 2.5 years ago there were 5 players on the, so our team was very, very young. We did not qualify for the 2020 Olympics. So when that happened, pretty much most of the team retired. Like, there was not hardly anybody left. There was a legacy player. And in 16, they actually were pretty successful down in South America when they had the Rio Games. But in Tokyo, we did not participate. And so after that then, just talking earlier, so our team was so young. So our team was, the average age of our team is 23. And so, and the average number of games they had underneath their belt, international game, was 22 and a half. So when you play another country, that's called a cap, CAP. And so our daughters, both of our daughters have over 50 caps. But anyway, the standard Olympic age is 27 and 130 games, international games. So we were way young team going in. And USA Field Hockey even said a year ago, and that Brooke was already down there training in Charlotte at the time, that we're probably not going to qualify for the Olympics. So let's just shoot for LA in 20, whatever it is in 2028 because we get an automatic bid because we're hosting, okay, in 2028. And sort of that's a deflating motivator, right? Well, we're just not even going to try. Well, the coach that got there and the girls that were there said, well, we're just not going to train for 5 more years just to not even try to get to the Olympics. So we qualified. We had the Pan Am Games in the fall of 2023, and you had to get a top 3 in that to qualify for an Olympic qualifying event, which was we were selected and sent to India then in January. We got second in that, and that was remarkable. Interesting enough, side note, Brooke, the older one, was moved to forward when a coach first saw her a year and a half ago when she was playing and the new coach saw her playing in New Zealand. He said, with your speed, I want you to be a forward. I don't want you to be a midfielder. She's always played midfield, all the time. Never played anything but midfield. But she's going to play where the coach tells her to play, right? And she's going to give her best. She, the older one, did not make the cut to go to the Pan Am Games. And so that was a life-altering event for her. She's never not made a team or qualified or anything like that. And she it was a pretty big reflection. Her younger sister goes to Pan Am Games. They qualify. And like every tournament's a new qualification. So when he got back, she just met with him and says, you know what, let the chips fall where they fall. Please move me back to midfield. And so he did. She excelled. She qualified then for the India Olympic qualifier. We had to place top 3 in that, and we got second. Again, unheard of. We actually beat India in that process, and we beat other teams that we have no right beating. We were going into that tournament ranked about 16th in the world at that time, and we were bottomed. We were 7th out of 8 seeders or something like that, and we ended up getting second. So the girls were way over their skis playing, and crushed it in India. And then the biggest stress point was June the 10th. So both girls, Brooke has a house in Conestoga. Emma lives with us when she's home from college. And the girls decided they would not be together when the roster comes out at 8 a.m. on June the 10th. And it comes out in a text. So that's how you find out whether you make the Olympic team or not. So 28 women and they send all the women home. After Charlotte, they come back after they qualified, and then and they did some tournament play, stuff like that, and then they sent everybody home the weekend before that. That's I think the June the 10th, it was a Monday maybe. Anyway, and everybody's on pins and needles. All these 28 women are on pins and needles, and there's we were all, and it was like clockwork. Bang, the list comes out in this text format, and Emma's upstairs and she comes screaming downstairs, and Brooke's calling right away because the list is out and their names are right beside each other. So pretty cool. So they ran it down to 16 players and then 3 alternates. We were ranked 13th going into the tournament. We went 1-3-1 in a pool play. There was 8 in our pool. We had to get to 6th place, I guess, or 5th place to get into, I had to get to 4th place. And we would have done that with just 1 goal. So to get into the second medal round tournament part. But honestly, at the end of the day, though, we were ranked coming out of the tournament. We came out of the tournament ranked 9th in the Olympics, and we went in ranked 13th in the world. So the girls did exactly what they were supposed to do. They beat a team they were supposed to beat. They lost to 3 teams. They went in and they lost to 3 teams that were ranked like 2, 3, and 5. And then we tied Spain, who was ranked like 7th. And so that was a big win for us also. So that's that tie. So, this is the very first game. And, the beauty of Peacock and TVs today, you can rewind and send pictures. You can see the video again on TV. Well, apparently I got some TV time right at the first game. And I got my phone blew up with text pictures of me watching, being a very encouraging dad. So while there, Deb and I, so this honestly, this is my personally 4th Olympics I've gone to. I was there in Montreal when Bruce Jenner won the decathlon. In 76, we were down in Atlanta in 96 when Michael Johnson broke the world record for the 200. We went to, and we went as a family then, and Deb and I were just married. My parents went down, and Jennifer and her husband and young son. And then we went to Vancouver when our kids were in Penn Manor. And then this is it here. So we love the Olympics, and it's really a celebration of all sport, which we love that. So we went to other events, badminton and swimming. It was a funny little side story on the badminton thing. That's where our seats were. You can see, like, literally, we're at the court, and we were sitting. It said row 19. So we come in and said, so I said, which direction is row 19? We were up in the top of the thing, and it goes down like this. She says, you have the best seats in the house. I said, well, it's row 19. She says, we count backwards here. So 1 is here, 19's on the court. I said, I'll take it. So went to see swimming for trials. Saw Katie Ledecky compete, and pretty good time. The kayaking, which was just, they built this just for the complex for the tournament. Whitewater rafting, not what rafting, but kayaking. We went to 3 track and fields events. Saw the finals of the 100 when it looked like a 3-way tie, and so our seats were right across the finish line, right there, and we're looking down the finish line also. Of course, it looked to us like it was a 3-way tie, but it is a concert when you're in that venue for that event only. It's the last event of the evening, and they put these little people that go to Taylor Swift concerts, I guess, I don't know, but they put these things on your wrist, and they all have lights and LEDs and stuff like that. So the whole place is pulsating before this race comes out. All these athletes, these runners are coming out, and they've got to be just blowing their mind with the energy and this laser show that's happening. But it was pretty cool. We love watching track and field. And like I said, we went to 3 events there. So another thing we went to was beach volleyball, which was underneath the Eiffel Tower, if you can see that right there. And again, every score, there was a concert in between. And I don't think we can hear that. Maybe we can't hear it. It's no big deal. But let's see if I can get it one time. Maybe not. It's all right. It doesn't really matter. It's just music. But so there would be a score. And then literally there'd be either a person speaking in French or English in between each score. And they would play music. And even if your team got scored on and it was a block, the whole place would get up and they'd play this music, go block, 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 block. And then it'd be another score. And then they pump music again. And then they would pump you. Everybody get up and start cheering. It didn't matter. It was 3 hours of concerts, and they just really got the crowd involved. It was really, really dynamic. Really fun to be a part of. So the girls, to be clear, they made sure they were in front of the TV at the closing ceremonies. Here they are, and they had more TV time than anybody. It was the funniest darn thing. There they are again, and there they are again. So they were on the closing ceremonies constantly, right at the edge of the stage there, and had a wonderful, wonderful experience. I would say that USA absolutely took probably better care of their athletes than probably any other country did. So we were getting texts early on that we heard the food is terrible. We heard there's no air conditioning in the village. We heard the girls are sleeping on cardboard beds. What's going on? So Emma, which one is Emma? There's Emma. I can't even tell them part of this stuff. Emma, I said, how's the food? I heard it was terrible. She says, I'm eating steak every night, Dad. How can it be terrible? Food was great. They have no complaints. And they're eating this big cafeteria, but they had in the cafeteria, they had their venues of, there was definitely ethnic food because of, your specific diet. And of course, these athletes are, they're at that point in time, there's no compromise on your diet. You got to stay in your lane, what you're used to eating. So they loved the food, had no problem with it. Yeah, it was a big dorm, but it was pretty cool, big cafeteria, but it was fine. The food was great. USA was the only country that brought in portable air conditioners. They rolled them into each room. They put them there. Those space AC units, so they were fine. and they also provided all of our athletes with big mattress toppers. So for the mattresses, so you're training your whole athletic career for the pinnacle of it, and really the conditions for other athletes were struggling, but USA took care. And the best part of our girls, it was a 2-week tournament for the Olympics, and no matter if you ran your very first race on the very first day of the Olympics and you lost or you won, but your race is over and there's 2 more weeks. USA was one of the only countries also that continued to pay. Just so you know, it's not taxpayer funded. I'm letting you know that it's all donated money and sponsorship money. But anyway, the USA Olympics paid for all athletes to stay as long as they wanted to, and they could stay for the closing ceremonies. So our girls were done after a first full week, and then they stayed around. They actually came and stayed with us at our house for a night or two. We got to go out and tour, go out to dinner with them. They went back to the village then and stayed there, and then they stayed for the closing ceremonies then. So that was pretty cool. They had a ton of swag. Again, Ralph Lauren was one of the sponsors, and those outfits, like those jackets, are leather, and they literally altered them on the spot. So there was about 2 days where each of the athletes would go to fittings, and they would tailor them. They would get their measurements, they would tailor them, and then be ready for them like the next day. And it was just great. It was all through sponsorships and stuff like that. So it's really great how they took care of the women and all the athletes. All the athletes were treated the same. It was great. They did not participate in the opening ceremonies because they played the next day. And if you saw that boat thing, it was raining anyway. So they're like, yeah, we're not doing this. But I don't have pictures of it. But they were hanging out and just, in the same room as like LeBron James and those guys, just standing there talking. And Simone Biles, now Brooke never took a picture, but she was taking an ice bath right beside her. And she says, I'm texting my friends. She says, I think she's probably texting them that she's sitting beside Brooke DeBurdine right now in the ice bath. She says, I'm texting my friends. I'm right beside Simone Biles in the ice bath. But anyway, it was pretty cool. And, they were, in the village life was really cool. You could literally go in there and, if you wanted your nails done, you go get your nails done. It's all taken care of. You wanted to get a new haircut, you go get a haircut. If the place was open to eat, you could go get any food you wanted. I mean, there was all sorts of things to try to make it normal for them, so they wouldn't have to. Again, they didn't have to think about all the other things that their competition and things like that. Right now, I think I'm done here. Yeah. Right now, Brooke, she works full time here in Lancaster. She actually works for our company, Rhodes Energy, and I apologize for the advertising because that's not who's here today. I'm here, but it's not. But I had somebody do this for me at work to put this together. They just slipped the logo right on there. So I guess if I'm missing work, they're going to make me earn some PR out of it. But anyway, so Brooke, the older one, had been working for us part-time for the last year in supply chain work. That was her major at Maryland, and we have propane and other fuels and a railroad and stuff like that. And so she was working doing that. And then when she came back from the Olympics, they've all been off for a couple months of just breaks and downtime with their families. And some women now are playing in European leagues to Cape. And Emma went back to Maryland right away after about 4 days off and played her 5th eligible season at University of Maryland and had a wonderful season. But she is physically wiped out, like because she's played field hockey for 18 straight months with a high level without giving her body a break. So she has had some nagging injuries, nothing that put her down, but she was hurting during most of the Olympics, just exhausted. But Brooke has decided to retire from USA, and so both decisions were worthy of tears. You're either going to retire or you're going to leave us and go back to Charlotte. So it was a tough decision, but her boss at our company, who I'm not her boss, put her on the spot and said, okay, hey, you need to work full-time with us or we're going to fire you because we need somebody full-time in this job. So that was the catalyst. Her coach was giving her till January to decide whether to come back or not. But so she would be 29 at the next Olympics. But Emma, she's still all in. So she'll go back probably in January or mid to late January to Charlotte and start training again. And she's actually got a great opportunity. Brooke's been living with a host family who haven't taken a dime from her to stay with her. They have a 13-year-old daughter who's in multiple sports down in Charlotte, and Brooke's been her big sister. So it's been a perfect situation. They're like family to us now. And they reached out to Emma just a week ago and said, "Hey, we want you to come live with us now that Brooke's not." So we're real excited about that. So,
thanks so much for the support for parents. Love you guys.
so anyway, this is where Brooke would normally be standing beside me, and everybody was like, "Hey, Mike, we're done with you. tell us about this and this and this." So I know a lot about what they went through, and you can ask about the athlete experience. I can share any of that with you, but my piece is done. But as a parent too, I'd be happy to share anything with you too, or just the experience. Yeah, go ahead.
Are the athletes at this level paid?
Yeah, okay, so good question. So USA Field Hockey pays them, they're 1099 athletes. And so if you're a first-year athlete, you get about $2,000 a month. You can't live on that down in Charlotte, right? So that most of them have second jobs. And so they start their day training at like 8 in the morning, and then they've negotiated with their coaching staff that we got to be done by 1. You can't have us start training at 10:30, 11 o'clock because we can't get a part-time job in. Some of them will wait on tables. Some of them will do. Emma actually did marketing for an insurance company, remote out of Washington D.C. But then when she went on long tour, they said, "Okay, we gotta be done." Brooke worked for Clark Associates, the Webstron here, for a long time, and they were over the top great, and they were great for her. They took care of her, paid her well. But again, Clark was very particular about being online when you're traveling outside the country. They didn't want their IT. And so she was gone for a long time. They had an open opportunity to come back, but she was just looking for something different then. And then she started working for us. And then, so Brooke, I think when Brooke left, she was getting maybe $2,500 a month.
And does the team help find a part-time job, or do they have to do that on their own?
They do not. Well, I shouldn't say that's not fair. Because the community of field hockey families down there, which field hockey is not a huge sport. There's several women that are living rent free. Emma did not. She shared a townhouse with 2 other women, and so probably that was right around $1,000. So she's getting paid $2,000, right? So not a lot to live with. But so you have to have a second job. So there was some people that were offering those jobs. They would throw a field hockey club that they would let them know that these women are available. They're all college grads too, and primarily, so they could do a lot of different things. So, but yeah, the network down there was fabulous, and they're growing the game, and they're happy to be down there. I mean, knowing that the Nook was only 20 minutes, 15 minutes from our house, everybody was sort of, "Oh, that's a bummer," that they're leaving. But when they got down there, the girl said, "We need to be here." So first of all, Charlotte. If you've been to Charlotte in the last couple of years, Charlotte is a fabulous town to go to. It is a very young town, exciting atmosphere, tons of job opportunities, big financial business area down there. So, and they can play year round outside. So they just said, this is the place to be. So, and they don't begrudge that at all. Yeah, go ahead.
I know when you spoke on Monday and Brooke came up, she had her ring.
She asked me if I wanted to take it today. I said, "I'm not taking, there's no props. You're not taking any props, Dad?" I said, "Props? I don't need props." She said, "I have the ring." I said, "Well, anyway, so yeah, so all the athletes get a ring, but if you want to upgrade it to, like a gold ring or something like that, they had to pay for that. So yeah, it's a beautiful ring, and it was fitted and the whole bit. So they actually, last month, I'm losing track of time, it's December, maybe it was even October when they went, but they did go to the White House. All the athletes were invited to the White House, and it was a day of sharing. And so the Paralympics are the week, there's a week break, and then the Paralympics come in and follow the traditional Olympics, we'll call it, okay? So the Paralympics are, athletes that, they might be disabled from the hip down, or have a limb that's missing or something like that. So they were at this also with them. And that was, if you hear Brooke and Emma talk, that was probably of this whole Olympic experience, going to the White House and eating dinner with Paralympics was probably the highlight of their whole Olympic experience. They sat next to a gentleman, and he's either a book or a movie or a documentary coming out on him. He's a swimmer and he has no arms. And he sat at the table and talked to them as he was cutting his meat with his feet and then feeding himself with his feet, like holding with silverware. And they were just, what? It was just remarkable. And they were just, everybody complains about, oh man, my back's hurt, my back. It's like, you don't have any idea what tough is. When you're a swimmer at a high level and you're darn good, and you have no arms. So they learned, that was probably, if there was a highlight of a one-off event, that has to be it, in addition to the national anthem for them. Yeah, go ahead.
You said a number of times they were playing over their skis.
Yeah.
They kept winning,
Yeah.
even though they were placed way down.
Yeah, they were like ranked 16 before the tournament started.
Well, then to what do you attribute the continual playing better than they're expected?
So the coach, well, first of all, I attribute it to the quality, the attitude of the women. Like the coach, he was, and so it's business 101 if you're leading a company. I mean, it's all about, like they say, attitude eats skill for lunch all day long, right? And he was all about attitude. And there was all their mantra was about, doing the right thing, supporting your team. It's we all say there's no I in team, but but the point is, so it's all about everybody. And they care. These women generally cared about each other. And that's literally one of the reasons why they would separate them when this list came out, because if you got selected or if you didn't get selected, you were balling. Because it is what you put your heart and soul into. And they would check in with each other. This coach was I love this guy. David is a wonderful human being. And he was all about, he's not the most skilled coach, to be clear. And the girls know that, but he had a good assistant coach that was all about the skill. It's almost like you run a business, right? You got somebody that can maybe chart the path, but really you need other skill sets to run a company, right? And because you can't do it all really well, but you just hire good people. And that's what David did. And I think that he was so focused on the attitude. And because he really, even the girls that were there when he came on board, most of them did not make the new team of the new 28, because he just started with a clean slate, and he's just, and so and not saying there was anything wrong with the women that were there with their attitude. That's not my point. My point is that he was looking for a certain type of that attitude, and that commitment to team, and to each other. So absolutely, because that was their mantra, all about supporting each other and not necessarily the best athletes in the country. So I would say there's a lot of other women field hockey players in the country that are better stick players than my daughter. There's no doubt about it, both of them. But our daughters, my two daughters, I think what they provide to a team is they're great leaders in terms of support each other. They support other women on the team, and they're pretty darn fast. But other than that, though, it's a team thing for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Your youngest daughter, Emma?
Emma, yes, sir.
Is she going to continue on?
She is. So she is. She doesn't have a part-time job right now because she when she went back to Maryland to play this 5th season, she's getting her master's in business right now. So that's a lot to be playing field hockey and getting her master's. It's a 1-year remote. So she has classes every day still, and she's at home here right now. So she just needs a break from not working and playing, and so trying to get her back in a better place. She's actually, but she'll be going back. Like it's either going to be January or February. I think they're actually not even going to take her on tour. They're going to New Zealand for some tournaments, I think in February, and I think they're already told her, like, you're not even going to go. I mean, she's really had something going on here. And ever heard of PRP at all? You know what PRP is? So they take blood out of one area, they spin it, and then they inject it where it's injurious. So it really speeds up the healing process. And so she just had that down in Maryland about a week ago. So it's just, she said, I'm going to get them to pay for it because I was playing for them and they got more money than USA Field Hockey does. So I want to give USA the job. Oh, and talk about benefits. I told you about the pay. And they're not, they're running on their own health insurance until they get to a certain number of years with USA Field Hockey. So that's hard too. And, especially if you're an older player beyond 26, you can't be on your parents' health insurance plan. So fortunately, Brooke and Emma were all still on our plan. But any difference, though, USA would pick up the difference of the deductibles and stuff like that. But, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're not considered Olympian until you're on the field.